Dear Edit, what is your weirdest dream nightmare you've ever had? I actually have some of mine written down, so I'll just copy paste my favorites notes onto here. Jack Black is in a movie about a mid-low tier ranking gangster addicted to pain meds pulling off insane heists and murders, so lower tier gangsters stopped trying to kill him and his friends for his spot. This happens after he finds his dead friend with a 7 of diamonds playing card with the letter J burned into it. Gang is ranked by playing cards. Ace is new guys. King is big boss. Jack is currently 7 and card was a sign that they were coming for him. At one point he gets high in the back of a garbage truck and thinks he's in Lego Star Wars. Police trying out his weird mannerisms, one of Jack's mannerisms, to try to connect him to the crimes. Jack catches the police chief in high heels when he tries breaking into the station. Finds out while spying on Chief that his friends were going to double cross him. Name of the movie will be Jack Black's Black Jack. 2 weird dreams. 1. 20 years from now, my future wife and I buy my former high school and turn it into a house. 2. Had a wife in the military, either deployed or deceased, and around 10-12 children. I told these 2 dreams to my friend, and he stitched them together to form what he calls the prophecy. I had this reoccurring dream. I'm in my town center and I see a huge mushroom cloud exploding in the distance. It's fast approaching and I jump into the fountain in the last second since I'm extremely slow. As I go in I can see the flames and destruction from underwater and I emerge to see everything destroyed. I'm having this dream since I was 5-6 years old and it gets me every time. I'm 24. My first memory was a nightmare I had when I was around 5. I remember it vividly, and I have no idea why it scared me so much. I look back and laugh at it, because it is so weird. Anyways, my friends and I were all playing in my childhood home. Then there was a knock at the door. My friend went to open it, and there was Barney at the door. My friend invited him in, but every time he looked at me he had evil red eyes. No one else noticed this. Eventually, Barney tried to get everyone outside. I followed hesitantly, and as soon as I stepped outside I saw that Triceratops character charging everyone with her horns and had glowing red eyes. That was when I realized they were out for blood. I tried to get everyone to run, but they wouldn't listen. I watched Barney and the Triceratops take down my younger brother, and that's when I woke up. My best friend took me to some farmland during a time when it was covered in a thick layer of snow, gave me a large squirt gun, and told me to spray the cows as they came in. I take one look at the cows, and I get sad, and throw the gun into the snow. The farmer, or a farmhand, sees us, yells and curses at us, and makes us line up against the fence. I swear to him that it was all my friend's idea. This large mob of people consisting of everyone I know gathers around to watch this unfold, and at some point, my friend says something to me. In that moment, I fly into this murderous rage, grabbing him by the throat and screaming, "You son of a bitch, I'll duck and kill you. Duck you. Duck you." His face is getting redder and redder with every squeeze. Finally, my mom pulls me away, and I let him go. I was jetpacking around my hometown and this one arsehole from there was trying to kill me. He crashed a ship by me and my jetpack stopped working. So of course I went back in time and asked some random new jogger to run after him when he landed. Being chased through an abandoned hospital Scooby-Doo style by the 1940s Wolfman, while everything was black and white. I dreamt I was a reporter chasing a story on the AIDS virus. I was alone on some deserted boardwalk when a woman suddenly approached me and said, "Here's your story," and tried stabbing me with a syringe. We fought and struggled and I woke up punching my wall in a cold sweat. I was in this blue room and 3 girls walk in. One starts to give me a blowjob. Sweet. Then my D falls off. The girl then penetrates me with my D where my D used to be, as if I now have a V. There is this rectangular piece sticking out where my D used to be. So she hops on and starts riding me. She gets off and then they all leave. I am now forced to eat a dying baby. I don't know why, but I had to. I see its beautiful blue eyes looking up at me and we had this moment. It's like he was saying it's okay to do this. He was born to die. He was born without a life. It brought me some peace. So I watched his eyes fade to black, then I ate it with a fork and knife. I once dreamed that I was being hunted by a human-sized pigeon. I woke up terrified XD. Walking into a castle and ending up in a giant room full of different breads. Guess I was craving bread. Being chased by the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man with the cast of iCarly. Spencer was popping off on that turret though. After my grandmother died, she would appear to me at night, sitting alongside my bed in the rocking chair that she had willed me. It didn't feel like a dream, it seemed vividly real. She and I would talk about many things, some of which we never discussed when she had been alive. I would ask questions, and she'd give clear answers. These nightly episodes went on for weeks after her death. When they finally stopped, I was sad that she no longer appeared. Tony Stark fighting the Power Rangers. He was not wearing his helmet but was still able to wound a few of them until I asked him where his helmet was. This will probably get buried, but I once dreamed Peppa Pig had died of swine flu and I was genuinely sad. I was a child and had just watched The Predator with Schwarzenegger. In my dream, the Predator was hunting me. He finally caught me, wedged the spear where my arm was joined to my body, and pushed on it so as to dislodge my arm. I woke up with my arm completely flabby and non-functional for the next 30 minutes. I was eating ice cream and tripped into Adolf Hitler wearing boxer shorts, so I did the most reasonable thing and let him borrow my fine china plates. The first night we got my pet cat when I was a little girl, I dreamt for 2 nights she would stop at nothing to kill me. She even killed my mother in one of my dreams. There were no gory details, thank goodness. But I vividly remember the cat sitting on my mother's corpse saying, "Your mother is no help to you now." I really loved the cat at the time, so I'm not sure where this came from. I saw a man die in my dream when I was about 10. It was the way he died that was weird. I remember him laying on his side and puking like he had been poisoned. The puke changed color, texture and consistency every time he puked. Eventually, he was eaten by parasites from the inside. When I woke up I asked myself why I would ever dream of something like this and if something was wrong with me. Just happened that one time, though. I was being chased by someone and Plankton saved me. Overslept once because I had a dream that I was in a church and Soldier Boy was being baptized. I had a dream a couple of hours ago about a man named Lewis that moved to Australia from America after years of abuse from his father towards him and his sisters. One of his sisters passed away. It felt so real and I felt such a strong connection. I tried looking it all up but alas couldn't find anything, because it wasn't real. It's got me really ducked up to be honest. I contacted this person and we connected and I loved him. But it was just a dream. Then I woke up back to this depressing lonely reality. I remember one that I infiltrated a villain meeting and there were many villains there. It was in the style of My Hero Academia. So subtitles appeared each time a character was introduced, summarizing their power. When it was time, an old woman, holding a toilet under her arm, entered in the room, followed by 2 henchmen. Her subtitle, Toilet Queen. She has a toilet. For some reason the other villains were terrified of her. Imagine all the other villains having long descriptions of her power and then arrives a villain, who's an old lady holding a toilet. Her power is that she has a toilet and everyone freaks out. Also, there was that time I saw in a magazine a new season of Dragon Ball Super, announcing the new villain, a female Saiyajin named Keela. Her notes said she was a Saiyajin and a Marxist. I played Slender late at night with my friend. I was 13 that time. I was getting tired, so I said bye-byes and went to sleep. Hear how it starts. I, my friend, F1, and another friend, as F2, are making a Slenderman statue out of snow. IDK lol. We go inside to get few cups of drinks and go outside again. Statue is gone. F2 disappears. I see something not faced in sight. My sight blurs. Me. Fuck, we made it live. F1, run. We run and try not to look at it. Our destination is F1's house. We make it to my friend's house and open our eyes. Me. Is it gone? F1, silence. I don't think about the silence and open the door. Slender is at the door and says, "Hello boys." As my sight blurs and I die. In Roblox. WTF. I respawn and find out I'm playing game called Stop It Slender 2. I say, is this a dream? Then I woke up. Oof. I've had a dream where I was walking in the corridor of my apartment at night. I spot an old woman with a cloth tied around her head to protect herself from the chilling cold. She was at the end of the corridor. I turn and look at her, and she looks up at me and drops her walking stick. Her eyes were black and her mouth twisted into a snarl. I was frozen to the spot. She started ducking, sprinting towards me, and I didn't hesitate to nope the duck out of there. I was extremely slow at running in the dream and the corridor never seemed to end. I turned around while running and the old woman was inches from my face but was now smiling. She told me to stop and look at her. She was just about to say something when I woke up. It was 8:47 in the morning and my parents were in my room, packing. My mum was ironing out my clothes. We were moving to India from Singapore that day. It was 2012 and I was 11. When we went to our rented room for the time being in India, I kid you not, the room number was 847. Once I dreamt I was chopping meat off of meat hooks with butter knives and feeding it to robotic heads. There were no bodies, just the heads chomping down on the meat I threw to them. And while doing that I was also talking to an aristocratic cockroach called Mr. Johnson, who I knew was an aristocrat because he was wearing a tuxedo, a monocle, and was fat. He had a deep, raspy kind of voice, and I don't recall our conversation. However, at one point he said he had to go, and I asked, "But Mr. Johnson, won't you stay for dinner?" To which he replied, "No, and you won't either." And then I woke up. 1 or 2 minutes before my alarm rang. Mr. Johnson became a joke among my group of friends, and a supervillain alongside Mal Pig, the evil swine. This one time at a sleepover when I was like 8, I woke up from a dream where me and my friend were running through a white tunnel, and right as I got to the end, I woke up. I saw the same friend sitting up, and I asked him if he was able to sleep, because I thought he was awake all night. He said he just woke up from a dream that he described as the same as mine. I work at a zoo and we had crazy tigers. They have since been sent to a big cat sanctuary because they never really adjusted well to our location. But they used to sneak and ambush you when walking by their enclosure. No joke, you are minding your business and they would rush and pounce at the fence in full kill mode and scare the ever living it out of you. The tigers are gone and in their new home, but there's a number of us that still have tiger nightmares. Was having sex with someone, was into it, but I couldn't see their face. Somehow they wouldn't turn around to face me. Continued on until finally I pulled out, got around them and pushed them on their back, and it was my brother's face on a woman's body. Immediately woke up and could not fall back asleep with my mind filled with terror and disgust. Most what the duck dream ever. Being in a completely white room with no perceivable door or windows. Around the entire room about 3 inches from the ceiling is a model train track that comes into the room through a small tunnel from one wall, wraps the whole room and then returns into a tunnel at the opposite side of the first wall. It is also completely white. On this track comes a small white model tank, smoking from its barrel the entire time it travels round the room. I get an anxious feeling of displacement, like the odd sensation you get if you take your thumb and push it as far as it will reach between your pointer and middle finger. I don't know why that specific action makes me get the same feeling of displacement, but it's the closest thing to it that I've been able to find out in the waking world. I have this dream around 5-6 times a year, and thus has been happening for more than 10 years now. I have no idea why. Well, last night I dreamed that the OG Disney characters, Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, Goofy, etc., were in a grunge rock band and I was at one of their concerts. It was weird and I have no explanation for it. Kanye West seeks my help moving his furniture out of an apartment. Also, all the furniture is assembled out of cereal boxes, Cheerios, Fruit Loops, Raisin Bran, Chex, etc. I actually had this dream 3 nights in a row. Also 8 or 9 giant anacondas had a battle royale in my backyard during a monsoon. Water up to my ankles while I just stood and watched. Every time an anaconda killed one, it would consume the loser and grow in size. Eventually one titanic anaconda was left which slithered into the woods behind my house. Osakut Russell was a Pokemon trainer, but he was like, really into it, yelling attacks out, throwing his fists in the air. Whenever he'd get a KO he would lose his damn mind. And even me and other trainers would look at each other and talk about how Kurt Russell needs to take it down a notch. I once dreamt that my mild-mannered husband casually reaches out of our car window at a grocery store, grabbed a passing woman by the hair and sliced her face off with a sharp knife. He dropped it on the center console and sped off, never looking at the road, but making eye contact with me while he silent bit off each of his fingers. I get sleep paralysis a lot. Try having a demon-like thing standing over you and you can't move or scream. Getting lost from Disneyland and then led back through the sewers by a group of Minecraft villagers was pretty surreal. I once had a dream where I was walking through an incredibly vivid but unfamiliar city. During the dream I was quite intent on examining my surroundings and accidentally walked onto the street where I ended up getting hit by a car and I woke up. Fast forward to a few days later and we were on a road trip. We stopped for lunch at a little town near Canberra. After getting out of the car I started looking around and I got some deja vu vibes. It looked and felt eerily similar to my dream. For the next few minutes I was running through what I could remember of the dream and comparing it to the town. Unbeknownst to me I had started wandering onto the road during my contemplations. At this point I reached the part of my dream where I got hit and I suddenly just decided to stop walking. A car sped past maybe a step away from me. Had me rattled but I was alright. Anakin Skywalker killed me by repeatedly ramming my head against the side of a toilet in my bathroom. This is the earliest nightmare I can remember. So for some reason, my mom was trapped in one of those mini pinball maze things, don't know the exact name, and we brought her to the doctors for whatever reason. And after a while the doctors concluded the only way to free her was to skin me alive. And the next thing I know, I see the doctor slowly coming towards me with a scalpel as I scream and everything fades to black. The next thing I know is the doctor, my dad, and my mom, who is now free, are all standing there happy. They all look at me as the next image is me completely skinned. And then I woke up. It's been 10 years and I still remember that ducked up dream. I was walking down Hanging Bridge with my hiking friends until it collapsed and we all fell to river beneath. I survived and I swam to the land and noticed that there is small house there. I was going to ask help there but when I opened the house door I realized that it was sauna and there was demon baby inside of it and that baby killed me. Weird as duck. I was part of a task force to take down a Godzilla-sized mosquito without wings in the inner city. This was when I found out that the whole you wake up when you die concept was BS. Because every time I died I would respawn. It was like Groundhog Day but instead of learning to manipulate people in small town Pennsylvania, I was getting impaled by a monstrous insect. Edit. This was before the Tom Cruise movie of a similar premise came out, but it was pretty close to that. I was sat on a bench very late at night with a few of my friends. We weren't talking or anything. Then it sort of zoomed out so I was watching from very far away, then one of those semi-sphere cameras like detached from the building it was connected to and it was connected to this like extending metal pole. And then the camera rushed super fast into my face, the me that was sat on the bench, and I woke up. I didn't put the clues together until years after the fact, but when I was 3 years old I dreamed about my own circumcision. Except the medical personnel were all wearing bee costumes, for whatever reason. Still haven't figured that one out. My wife just had a dream that I was pregnant, I'm male, and I gave birth to a puppy. She then took the puppy and nursed it herself. This was last night. I have no words. I had one recently where I was snorting meth with Mel Gibson in my kitchen and he kept trying to kiss me, it was odd. A few months back I had the weirdest dream I've ever had. It was simple. The dream started with me waking up and following the routine I follow every day, and it kept repeating. I would wake up and follow my routine. Until one day I got accepted into my dream uni and the dream fast forwarded a bit to the day I moved countries to go to the uni, and then again. The routine cycle repeated itself, but some days of the cycle were different. I'd meet people and have conversations. To the point I even had a girlfriend and eventually got married with her. After graduating, I got my dream job, bought a house, 2 cars, had a family. Life was literally perfect, until suddenly it fast forwarded again and I had somehow lost all of that, except for a dog. I was really depressed in the dream by that point. And then one day in the dream I went to sleep, and when I woke up IRL. Problem with when I woke up IRL is that I was completely lost and confused. My alarm startled me and I didn't touch it for a second because I didn't realize what was going on. The dream was so lifelike that when I woke up I had completely forgotten that I had a real life. It took me a few seconds to snap out of it and remember where I was. Shapper-shifting vampire aliens committed a bloody massacre on people that happened to all look like Nosferatu, but they were totally normal humans, and took on the shape of a Shiba Inu. Mudder and Scully were blaming the murders on either this random Saint Bernard or my new Phoenix because the Shiba would have been too small to murder about 20 people. The Shiba was taunting me that my dog was going to be taken away because no one would believe it was the Shiba. I was being arrested for shoplifting for some weird reason and I stopped the officers and convinced them I was dreaming. Then spent the rest of my dream banging my head against a wall to try to wake myself up. Obvious I couldn't feel anything because I was in a dream, but I couldn't wake myself up and it felt like forever. The weird part was knowing I was dreaming in my dream and trying to wake myself up from the dream without being able to. I was really young and I slept with a lot of blankets. I always had them tucked in tightly. I honestly can't remember if there was any build-up or not, but all I remember was hanging from a cliff by my feet and a witch looking down at me. I woke up and I was hanging from my bed upside down by my feet. They were caught on the covers. I have two types of recurring dreams that are weird. The first is that I am back either in high school or college and there is a class or two that I have just completely ignored all year and then I'm freaking out about how I am going to pass. The weirdest thing is that halfway through the dream I remember I graduated college years ago, but it somehow makes sense that I'm back in school for some reason. The second is that I find a hidden door in the house I grew up in and it leads to a mysterious hidden room or sometimes an entire floor. I really enjoy these because it's really cool exploring these places and trying to figure out why they were blocked off and how long it has been since someone has been there. The dude with the big ears from Nickelodeon Space Cases dressed as a Hell's Angel biker attempted to lure me into his van with candy. In my dream, my dad was with me. I turned around and my dad had booked it around the corner, without me. Demoralizing.